Across the UK, on DAB, on your smart speaker, and now in the Times Live app on your mobile and tablet. This is Times Radio.
It is 12 o'clock. I'm Hugo Rifkind. This is Times Radio. In a moment, PMQs, but first let's have a look at the headlines this lunchtime. Reform is calling for round-the-clock security for MPs who want it. Following Anne Widdecombe's death, Nigel Farage has said he is meeting security officials tomorrow to discuss the safety of Reform MPs. The boss of Thames Water has called for urgent clarity from the Prime Minister-in-Waiting, Andy Burnham, as the company could run out of cash within months unless a deal is struck. Chief Executive Chris Weston says that Thames Water is relying on creditors for support. Iran says that more than 30 Iranians have been killed and 260 injured in recent American strikes. Donald Trump has threatened to bomb bridges and power plants next week. Argentina's vice president has labelled England usurping pirates and invaders ahead of the World Cup semi-final tonight. He's called on the national team to reclaim what is ours. There could be a direct train from London to Cologne after a new operator vowed to take on Eurostar for use of the Channel Tunnel. Gemini Trains wants to run several services to Paris and expand to Frankfurt and Dusseldorf as well. We'll have a full news roundup at 1 p.m. But now, live on Times Radio and on the Times YouTube channels, it's time for this.
PMQs, Unpacked on Times Radio. Unpacking the politics and cutting through the crossfire.
And I'm joined as ever by Patrick Maguire. Hello, Patrick.
Good afternoon, Hugo.
How are you?
Great, gripped by patriotic fervour.
You're not dressed in black in mourning for Keir Starmer's last PMQs? I can't see any armband there. No,
no.
You put on an armband, you look even more like Harry Kane than normal.
Yeah. Tell you what happened to me in. I was watching the France game last night in the salubrious setting of O'Neill's on Wardour Street in Chinatown, just off Leicester Square, and a man asked me for a picture.
Really?
He had a T-shirt with Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham on it, both of them smoking fags and flicking the bird, did you say, to the camera? And he said, "Oh, mate, you look just like Harry Kane. Can I have a picture with you?" Saturday night, someone got a picture of me because I look like Harry Kane. Pub Garden on Saturday night was chanting Harry Kane at me. So yeah, you can make some money. Were you wearing the shirt? Were you wearing an England shirt? Absolutely. Look, I've got some dignity. I'm a grown man.
So's he. And we're also blessed with the presence of Lara Spirit. Hello, Lara.
Hi, Hugo. How are you?
How are you? You ever been confused with an English footballer?
No, I haven't. But
what a mad question. I do apologise.
A message the other day from someone that I'd met in DC, just completely out of the blue, hadn't spoken to them months, being like, "Okay, tell me if this is crazy, but doesn't Patrick Maguire look so like Harry Kane?"
Really? Yeah. That's wow.
And I was like, I'm afraid you're not the first person to suggest that.
Did you always know this, or has it happened recently?
Well, I used to, in 2018, at previous tournaments, I've got Fat Harry Kane.
Right.
My old boss, the New Statesman, Stephen Bush, used to say Harry Kane, the MLS years, which... you're not a football fan, so you're looking blankly at me. MLS is the Major League Soccer.
Is this going to last long, Patrick?
No. A single sentence. At the end of a player's career, when they want to make some money, but they're not very good anymore.
It's been a bundle of laughs from the start, hasn't it, Patrick?
His voice was so full of hope and optimism and life.
Do you think he'll be demob happy, speaking freely? Will he be doing that whole thing of... Will he be basically like Nicole Kidman when she walked out of her lawyer's office after her divorce from Tom Cruise, just suddenly looking sensational and free?
Well, he's definitely loosened up a bit in the last few weeks. What's that famous line? Nothing became in like the
manner of his going.
Yes, exactly.
It's Macbeth, is it not?
The Scottish play. Thank you.
Scottish play. Sorry.
Well, we're not in it, so we don't actually have to do that. And I think he's loosened up. I mean, there's still a bit of there's quite a lot of bad feeling about how this has happened, but I think carrying himself with dignity and grace is important to Keir Starmer. Wants to be the bigger person, and he's going to the football on Sunday if England win tonight, so he's got a lot to look forward to. In the cabinet this morning, as you were discussing earlier, gave him a lovely gift of a clock. Some of them cried, some of them wept as David Lammy paid a fulsome tribute to the Prime Minister.
They wept as they gave Keir Starmer a clock.
Yeah, they wept. They're going to miss him that much. They wept. And he was really pleased with it.
Who wept? Rachel Reeves wept, but anyone else wept?
Well, I don't have a full list.
Right, okay.
I'm trying. I'm working on it.
Lara, Kemi Badenoch today, presumably, deep down in there is an element of warmth she's capable of showing towards somebody, even if she doesn't like them politically. Do you think she'll manage to get herself into that mode?
I think that's a good question. I mean, I think it's an outstanding question how Kevin Badenoch is going to approach an Andy Burnham premiership. She will, and other Conservatives around her, do feel very happy about what's happened, but also probably want a little bit longer before they would look forward to anything like an election. So, I mean, I don't know. Let's see. I think that she is probably likely to be as she's been in recent Prime Minister's questions. People around her think she's improved. I think we can all agree that that's definitely true in her delivery and performance of PMQs, but it is invariably combative. And I don't think that she will miss the opportunity to make a sort of, series of shots at Keir Starmer, despite it being his last outing.
Amanda gets in touch and says, get on with it. Amanda, there's a lot of preamble. They're still asking their first question. We'll be on it as soon as we can. I'm sure it's coming up extremely shortly. Patrick, just before we go to the first question, because I think we've actually got it now. How would you kind of, like Keir Starmer, generally, the arc of his performance at PMQs, has he got better? Has he got worse? Has he stayed exactly the same as an unchanging brick?
No, he's obviously he's better at it than he was, certainly. And you can't really compare the opposition thing, but he was pretty bad at it when he started in opposition. By the end, he'd got the hang of it. I mean, I think he's better than he was when he started, but this isn't his natural register. He was never going to be brilliant at it. He doesn't embarrass himself, but it's not his natural métier, is it? And which is interesting, right? I was watching Andy Burnham's Hillsborough speech last night. And the really striking difference between Andy Burnham and Keir Starmer is it's all in the delivery. Andy Burnham is able to extemporise a speech with occasional reference to an A5 page of handwritten notes, whereas Keir Starmer, Nigel Farage likes to say he watched Keir Starmer's first speech as Prime Minister and he looked down at the piece of paper in front of him about 162 times or something, right? So I think that's going to be a big difference. So Keir Starmer was never going to be amazing. I think Andy Burnham will be a more natural performer because that's his vibe. Let's get question one.
Mr. Speaker, can I start by thanking the Prime Minister for the way he responded to the murder of Anne Widdecombe last week. This is the first opportunity I've had on the floor of the House to commemorate her life. A lot has been said about how she died. I want to focus on celebrating the life she lived. She was a woman of high principle, profound beliefs with a wicked sense of humour, a wonderful combination of being a serious person who did not take herself too seriously. She changed her faith from Anglican to Catholic and from the Conservative Party to the Brexit Party, but she always remained part of the Conservative family. You may not always have agreed with her, but Anne Widdecombe was a woman who said what she meant and meant what she said. Hers was an honesty that made our politics better. Her wit and forthrightness sat alongside a deep humanity and decency. She had wonderful turns of phrase. She said, we need less political correctness and more political courage. She said, if we deny our culture, become nothing and everything, that weakens us. And finally, Mr. Speaker, she also said, it is a truth universally unacknowledged at Westminster that there is life after politics. So with that in mind, I turn to this Prime Minister's final questions. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to make sure that I got the tone right today. So I looked back at his final questions to Boris Johnson, and luckily for him, I plan to be much gentler than he was that day. Week after week, the Prime Minister and I have clashed at this dispatch box and rarely agreed on anything. But there is one thing I did admire. When President Zelensky was attacked in the White House, the Prime Minister showed leadership and invited him to Downing Street. That was the right thing to do. Ukraine is on the front line in the battle for freedom. So does the Prime Minister agree that cross-party support for their cause must endure?
Prime Minister.
Can I start by joining her in a tribute to Anne Widdecombe? I know that the hurt is keenly felt across all her friends and family, but it's particularly keenly felt by political colleagues in the Conservative Party for many years and in Reform as well. And that's why one of the first things I did on Friday was to phone the Leader of the Opposition and the Leader and Deputy Leader of Reform to express my condolences and to try to act in a cross-party manner, because I knew how much this would hurt them and their parties and many people in their party. And I thank them for taking that call in the spirit that they did last Friday. I thank her for her comments about Ukraine. We have stood united on Ukraine in this House. We supported the last government in the approach that they took, and we've taken that approach on. That meeting with President Zelensky, the day after he was evicted from the Oval Office, he left alone. He got a plane. We got him to come to London, and I asked him to come to Downing Street straight away. And I walked out to meet him. I gave him a hug, and then I showed him what was in the street, which was many people who had come thinking that he was visiting Downing Street, and the moment he got out the car and hugged me, they cheered on the top of their voices, the British people, to tell President Zelensky exactly what they thought of him and the way that he had been treated. And that was a really emotional moment, because it was the first human contact he had effectively had outside of his immediate team since he left the Oval Office. I had a meeting with him to tell him that in this country we will stand with him and Ukraine, and I didn't let him leave alone. I walked him out to his car, because we don't let people in Britain walk out of our buildings alone. We escort them out.
Lara, I would say that was a class act all round.
Yeah, I was completely wrong when I said that maybe it will still be a very combative PMQs.
Well,
I mean,
it's
who
only
knows?
it's only one question in. Yeah.
But the first one was very gracious and generous, wasn't it? So I think pretty warm. I mean, these last PMQs do always have these moments. I think it depends who you are as to whether or not you actually enjoy the slightly more sentimental coming together, which never feels like it lasts especially long, or whether or not you think that actually it's not a massively genuine representation of British politics. I think it depends.
I mean, I was really struck last week, Patrick, by how visibly and understandably shocked and upset Kemi Badenoch was speaking about Anne Widdecombe, who she presumably knew well. But times like this reminds you that although there's a lot of cross-party disagreement, although politically Anne Widdecombe in her time in the House will not have been popular with a lot of people on the opposite benches, and indeed made a point of not always being popular with people on her own benches. When something like this happens, even with an ex-MP, the attitude in the House of Commons is this is one of our own.
Yeah, exactly. And they are all politicians at the end of the day, and they can connect on that basis regardless, can't they? You know, they're all feeling very wounded, traumatised, anxious by what this is reminding them about the life they've chosen, and the life they do in the name of public service. So, yeah, I was also struck when the camera panned back to Kemi Badenoch. She looked like she was on the brink of tears, and I'm not surprised. Yeah,
well, look, let's crack on, because I'm told all these questions are coming in quite long, and we're 14 minutes already, and we've only had one. So let's get number two.
Can I thank the Prime Minister for that answer? And no doubt he will be disappointed that he won't be emulating his hero, Harold Wilson, in winning multiple elections. However, we all hope that he may be about to emulate him in another way, by being the Prime Minister when England win the World Cup. That is something that every single one of us in this House should get behind, especially the SNP. Mr. Speaker, as leader of the opposition, the Prime Minister led his party to a landslide after a historic defeat. I fully intend to do the same. But if you want to lead this country, you should set out your plans to do so. We have. But one politician intends to spend the summer avoiding scrutiny, refusing to set out his plans. So does he not agree that what the country deserves is a televised debate between Nigel Farage and Count Binface?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, they intend to spend the summer arguing with the bin. my advice to everyone is put your vote in the bin. Mr. Speaker, can I just say that I'm delighted today that we are joined in the gallery by some of the people I've met across the country in opposition and in power. And these are the people in the gallery today who are in my mind's eye. People like Trevor and Lewis. They worked together at JLR for over 30 years, and I visited them just before we got the deal with America when tariffs were threatened, and I faced the entire workforce that day who were very, very concerned that they were going to lose their jobs because the tariffs would not be possible for JLR. And when we went back, when we got the deal, I took the call from President Trump at JLR in Solihull so that they could hear the deal and they knew exactly what it would mean for them. The only mistake I made was putting it on loudspeaker, which of course is always a slightly unpredictable thing to do when you've got President Trump on the other end. But luckily he agreed the deal and the cheer went out. But these are the people across the galleries who are here with us today that are always in my mind's eye.
Patrick, an actual genuine laugh at a Kemi Badenoch question at PMQs doesn't happen very often, but it's just so incredibly Keir Starmer to respond by using the exact joke word for word that Rachel Reeves used last week, and not realise that he's speaking to a PMQs watching audience who are the people who will have already heard that joke word for word.
It's come from the central banter typing pool at Labour HQ, I think, that arguing with a bin joke.
Does he really think people should throw their votes in the bin?
I think the funny thing about that, Hugh, that was also a joke.
But jokes have got to have an element of either truth or doesn't he?
He's saying put your vote in the bin. Yeah, and you think, which bin? Why would you do that? Because the vote, people died for the right to vote, right? Like, why would you put it in the bin? But then one of the guys addressed the bin.
Yeah, but also his bin's upside down, so it would just fall out.
Yeah. Although there's a little slit in the bin, isn't there?
We could put it in there, but it would just come out by the neck. Laura, do you want to join in on this at all? Or should we just get the next question?
It was a very unfunny joke. Is there much more to say about it?
Kemi's was good.
Kemi's was good, yeah. Kemi's was good. I think, yeah, you're right. She's got an element of humour there, and obviously immediately followed by questions of whether Farage was there, which it sounds like he's not, but I'm willing to be corrected.
No, because he's resigned as an MP.
Oh my gosh, of course, sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
No, don't worry, I had that thought process too.
Yeah, so Amanda of Get On With It fame text to say, isn't JLR a pop group? Amanda, no. Let's get question 3.
JLS were, though, remember them?
Again, it's a joke, Patrick, it's a joke. Question 3.
Mr. Speaker, I know how much the Prime Minister has come to enjoy our exchanges. In fact, in the King's speech last month, he told me that on difficult days, my input was always a ray of sunshine. He might not have answered many of the questions I asked him, but at least he turned up. It is important to respect Parliament. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that his successor should come to this place and answer questions rather than scurrying away for the summer?
Yeah. Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as Prime Minister, I have participated in over 60 PMQs. Always a pleasure, always something to look forward to. And I've answered, or at least given answers, on 2,800 times, and I'm sure she will question my successor in the same way. And I'm sure she'll forgive me if I just mention one or two others who are in the gallery who have been affected by the decisions we've made, because Billy, who is sitting in the gallery in front of me, was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2023. She was there, Mr. Speaker, when we launched our plan for change, and she's been a tireless advocate for better cancer care. Billy joins us today from the Special Needs School where she works in London, and I'm pleased to tell the House that Billy's cancer is in remission.
What he wouldn't be drawn on there, Laura, is the question of Andy Burnham and whether he's dodging questions over the summer.
Yeah, I mean, this is the current Conservative contribution to this debate, which is obviously that the big decisions that Andy Burnham will be making will be made when Parliament is in recess. Now, the Conservatives' response to that is to try and make sure that he answers questions on Monday. And initially, when I'd heard from some MPs concerns about whether or not Burnham would be around, I thought, well, maybe there'll be a proposal that would see, MPs sit for even longer. But actually, I think it's worth saying that MPs do value their summer break quite a lot. not. And so when I saw the Conservative proposal to come back for a day, I thought that was quite interesting. Obviously, Andy Burnham hasn't budged on that. I think you'd probably say that might be fair enough, given that he's going to be quite busy appointing a cabinet on Monday, as well as Patrick's mentioned, sort of addressing the nation and getting going. But that will be the key Conservative charge, which is not unreasonable. We have changed Prime Minister, and MPs don't have an opportunity to ask about some of the big things that we're expecting he'll do in the early days in office.
Are you expecting, Patrick, just mad chaos on Monday, or do you think most of it's going to leak out before?
When you say mad chaos, no, I think we will be learning who Andy Burnham's cabinet is.
But so will he, because I mean, look, we've all been around long enough to know that when you appoint a cabinet, your fantasy dream cabinet is never the one you end up with. There's always someone who won't move, who won't do the thing, who won't do that thing.
Well, exactly. I mean, he does have a free hand to just whack the people he wants to whack. I mean, the big question, of course, is how graciously or how with what level of enthusiasm does Ed Miliband accept a job that is not that of Chancellor of the Exchequer? I'd say that's the big variable. Keir Starmer learned to his cost, by the way. Ed Miliband is not an easy person to argue with. So let's see. But, you know, we will be learning all of this from the, I'd say, quite orderly scene of people sashaying up Downing Street for their appointment with the Prime Minister.
Well, so look, people getting in touch. Elizabeth on YouTube says, Kemi being charming today. I like this incarnation. Whereas Alexander on WhatsApp says, I don't know how to deal with this, but I'm finding myself quite enjoying the Leader of the Opposition this afternoon. There we go. Let's get a question for.
Can I thank the Prime Minister for that answer and paying tribute to so many of the people who he has been able to help. In fact, I remember when I started this job, the Prime Minister was very helpful to me, saying that I wouldn't last the year. Life comes at you fast. He spent a long time laughing that I'd lost control of my party. I think he should have been paying attention to his backbenchers instead of mine. But everyone in politics would do well to remember how quickly political fortunes can change. I know that he has been asked and he's being diplomatic, but on that note, does he have any advice for his successor?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I will give my wholehearted support to my successor. I want this Labour government to be a success. I want our country to be a success. I shall give my support privately if asked for, not publicly when not asked for. But, Mr. Speaker, I also, if I may, wanted to draw attention to Pooja, who's with us in the gallery today with her daughter. I first met Pooja in a cafe at the back of Euston Station, and she told me about her son Ronan, who was murdered when he was 16, having just done his GCSEs. I have to say, as a father of two teenagers, I found that very hard to hear. His killer, who was also a teenager, collected a ninja sword and a machete from his local post office. He bought them online using a parent's credit card, a fake name with no ID checks. And when I heard that, I said to Pooja that I would campaign with her to get the law changed and make a commitment and a promise to her. And that's why we passed Ronan's Law, driven by Pooja's inspirational campaigning. And today I'd just like the opportunity to thank her for that.
Patrick, I've not heard a departing PM do this before. He's clearly got a person he wants to mention every question, someone who's sitting in the gallery, someone whose case, whose situation, whose assistance, whose help he wants to highlight. It's quite moving.
It is, and it's quite a classy way, you would say, of responding to critics who say he leaves a pretty rubbish political legacy. Well, basically Keir Starmer is saying here, well, you know, Westminster might condescendingly say I was a terrible Prime Minister, but look at all the people to whose lives I've made a profound difference. That's what he's saying.
If you think it's that calculated.
Well, no, I don't think it's not. Sorry, that makes it sound calculated, but no, clearly it matters. This means, if anything, probably means more to him than the barracking and moaning of Labour MPs. Obviously, he'd rather be Prime Minister so he could continue helping people like Pooja and Trevor and the others he's mentioned. But you know, I think that's for him. That'll be his real legacy. If you read, say, Tom Baldwin's book, this is the on Keir Starmer. This is the sort of stuff means most to Keir Starmer. The feeling that he is helping real people.
Lara, it's probably a mistake to sort of, finely scrutinise his words, because he often does seem to slightly sort of trip over them as if his shoelaces were tied together. But precisely what he said there about the support he would offer to Andy Burnham, he said, I'll have wholehearted support for my successor, privately if asked for, not publicly when not asked for. Which
I
is
think
actually...
you can scrutinise that, given that he clearly read it off a piece of paper, so it had been a preconsidered line.
It's a bit barbed.
Yeah,
he's saying you're not going to hear me speaking out publicly in favour of this guy.
Well, I mean, he's more saying, don't worry about me criticising you publicly if I don't agree with you, was more how I heard it.
But that's not what he said, because he was only talking about praise. He said, I'm not going to praise you publicly if I'm not asked to.
Why didn't he say I would not offer my advice? I'll offer my advice privately, but not...
When asked for, yeah.
I think it was support rather than advice. Anyway, no matter. Let's not bicker. Let's get question 5.
Mr. Speaker, that is a lovely statement that the Prime Minister has just made to Pooja. I'm sure the whole House will agree. I think the whole House will also agree that he gave a very diplomatic answer to the question I asked him on advice to his successor. And having heard it, I say this to Labour MPs with as much goodwill as I can muster. We have been where you are. Changing Prime Minister is not a silver bullet. Indeed, it may be that the Labour Party's troubles are only just beginning. Solving the fundamental problems in this country will require difficult decisions. And you also need to know how to get things done. The Prime Minister once said that when he pulled the levers, nothing happened. Why did he think that was?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we did pull the levers. We pulled the levers to stabilise the economy, and we've stabilised the economy. We pulled the levers to strengthen our public services, and NHS waiting lists are coming down at the fastest rate for 17 years. We pulled a big lever on child poverty, and this government will be doing more on child poverty than any government ever, including previous Labour governments. We put the biggest investment into defence and security, and our international standing has been restored. But, Mr. Speaker, we also pulled the lever on the individual cases that matter, including individuals like Carla, who's in the gallery today. It was one of the parents that came to see me about online harm and the harm it can do to our young children, and that's why we banned social media for under 16s. And Daniel, who's also here with his son, who spoke to me many times about the struggles he's had with the cost of living and the need for a safe and secure home for every family and every child to grow up in. They're the people, Mr. Speaker, that matter more to me than anything else, because it's their lives that I think about when we make decisions in this government.
Lara, we may have discussed this before, but the lever thing, that goes back to Kemi Badenoch's criticism of Keir Starmer, that he thinks when he pulls the lever and nothing happens, he blames the lever, which has always annoyed me, because that is literally how levers work. If you pull a lever and nothing happens, that is the lever's fault.
Yeah,
it's not
I
your
think
fault.
part of the reason why this is, which this has sort of gained its place in recent political mythology, is because Starmer did physically grab for a lever when he was asked. Was it in the liaison committee?
It was, just last Christmas, yeah.
And it sort of did encapsulate this sense of
he
great
mined a lever
from him. Yes.
Yeah.
And so for that, and I think for some people watching who felt that he had actually been the cause of a lot of the blockages in Whitehall and had been unable to make crucial decisions at key moments, they felt that was kind of one of the great reflections of his failure as a Prime Minister and politician. And I think that's one of the reasons why it has become such a big thing that Kemi Badenoch has kind of seized upon.
I hear what you're saying, but she's an engineer. She should know how levers work. No?
It's so
she keeps telling us, this is really important.
Issue.
It's like you turn off the light switch and the lights don't go off. You blame the light switch. Yeah. It's the fault of the light switch. No matter. Patrick, that was a bit of a change of tone there. Suddenly they were sort of clashing again.
Yeah, suddenly she was asking a substantive political question. She really hoodwinked us all with this new nice Kemi persona she's got going on. She raised an interesting question. She's not going to get an answer.
Yeah.
Not from Keir Starmer. It's not for him to say.
Not today of all days.
Yeah, not today of all days, Hugo. No.
Yeah. Question 6, if you please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So for my last question, the Prime Minister may not think so now, but it is a tribute to him that not a single sitting Labour MP could beat him. Not the member for Ashton-under-Lyne, who couldn't count her taxes. Not the member for Sheffield Heeley, who couldn't count how many phones she'd lost. And definitely not the member for Ilford North, who couldn't count to 81. This is my last exchange with the Right Honourable Gentleman, and I know how much his wife and children mean to him, and that they are in the gallery today. As everyone here knows, our families make a huge sacrifice for our choice to enter public life. So I hope he will allow me to draw our time together to a close by thanking them for the love and support they have given him throughout his time in office.
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her very much for that? It is the last question I'll face from the Leader of the Opposition, and so let me wish her well and her family. We have had robust exchanges across this dispatch box, but she has extended kindness to me privately at very difficult times, including when there was an attempt to burn down our family home, which deeply affected my family. She reached out to me. And when my brother died of cancer, she reached out to me privately, not across this dispatch box. And I thank her for that and the tribute that she's just made to my wife and children, who mean the world to me. I do thank her for that. She knows this is robust and it has to be robust, and that's the way politics is done. But the kindnesses that sit behind it privately are often just as powerful, if not more powerful, and I thank her for that. I also stood at that dispatch box, Mr. Speaker, for 4 years as Leader of the Opposition. I know firsthand it's the most difficult job in politics, and that is what she is doing. When I did so, Mr. Speaker, we had just lost the 2019 election, which nearly broke my party. It was the worst result since 1935, and we were found to be institutionally anti-Semitic. And, Mr. Speaker, I picked up our party, I turned it round, I made a promise to rip anti-Semitism out of my party, and I did. I turned my party to face the country, and we won a landslide Labour general election. And after 2 years, we've stabilised the economy. We have invested heavily in our public services. We put better protections in for children, particularly on child poverty. We've strengthened our defence, and we've enhanced our international reputation. I'm proud to leave this country in a better shape than I found it. Thank you.
Patrick, something that strikes me about all that is, particularly the last couple of questions where she's been just as warm but with a barb, she could do that all the time.
Well, is it? Yeah, no, I think so, and I think I think she might have to apply that approach to Andy Burnham, to be honest, because you can well imagine Kemi Badenoch not getting a rise out of Andy Burnham, and what we've seen today is actually quite significant for going forward, because I wonder whether she had another gear, and we've seen it. You know, she can ask questions without. You know, she can ask questions in a different way, and I think she might need that with Andy Burnham, because you can sort of well imagine Andy Burnham sort of chuckling amiably at Kemi Badenoch.
He's got a mocking glint.
Yeah, and he's a much more assured and fleet-footed parliamentary reformer, so she might well have to adapt her style, and maybe that's the way in which she'll do it. I just reflecting on what Keir Starmer said there, I'm sure I will get texts in the next 10 minutes from several people saying me. It's always I. It's always the first person pronoun with Keir Starmer. I mean, it feels churlish to point that out. You know, it's his last PMQs.
He's not paid tribute to his cabinet. Well, why would he pay tribute to his cabinet?
Well,
they chucked him out the window. Yeah. I mean,
after that gift, I wouldn't either.
Who's he got left to thank? Yeah, they chucked him out the window and gave him a carriage clock, for God's sake. Yeah, I just sort of, when Patrick was talking there, Lara, I just had this horrifying vision of Kemi Badenoch and Andy Burnham facing each other across the dispatch box. It's not going to be like flirtatious, is it?
I don't know if we're going to get sort of particularly coquettish vibes from PMQs going forward. But I do completely agree with Patrick that Andy Burnham as a politician is someone who puts a lot of value in not looking like he's being mean or abrasive or combative in the way that he deals with other people. Makes a great deal of not just the Progressive Alliance, but the style of politics which we saw during the Make You Feel by-election, where he didn't really even attack Nigel Farage, which is something that Starmer has done obviously very explicitly and has been a long-standing policy of his. So I can completely imagine a situation in PMQs where Andy Burnham tries to do something that's a bit warmer and different in his manner of performance, and that will perhaps force Kemi Badenoch to do the same.
Well, just before we move on, you'll be delighted to know that a lot of people are now texting in about levers. response. Chris
What are they saying?
Chris says it's what the lever is connected to, not the perfectly working lever, you arts graduate. Don't know, Chris. Think of Archimedes saying, give me a lever and a firm place to stand and I can move the world. It's not like, where does the lever end? When does the lever stop being a lever, become the machine? Not sure. Meanwhile, someone calling himself, fittingly, handyman, says, in your light bulb analogy, if you turn on the light switch and the light doesn't work, it's the fault of the bulb, not of the switch. I think I said if you turn off the light switch and the bulb doesn't work. I don't know. Whatever. Keep your lever comments coming. Really, I do find them so fascinating. Up next, we're going to be coming back with the best of the rest. This is Hugo Rifkind here on Times Radio.
Hugo Rifkind on Times Radio. It starts with listening.
Hello, Hugo Rifkind here, currently unpacking PMQs with Lara Spirit and Patrick Maguire. Look, let's have a listen now to the best of the Backbenchers, and we obviously begin with this.
Now, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. What did Ed Davey say?
Well, Laura, it's time to find out what did Ed Davey say. Let's listen.
Can I join the whole nation and hopefully every nation in wishing England well against Argentina tonight? Yeah. After their superb win against Norway, and it's the last job of the Prime Minister to make sure we win the World Cup. But can I also pick up on a remark from the Leader of the Opposition about the by-election we're about to see in Clacton? I have to tell her I cannot back joke figures with ridiculous policies, which is why I'm supporting Count Binface. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister finds himself with more time on his hands, can I recommend the new Toy Story film? For those of you who don't know Toy Story, its main character used to be in law enforcement, but was mainly known for being a little wooden, but was replaced by a shiny new action figure from far away who thinks he can fly. And the name Andy on everyone's lips. Perhaps, Mr. Speaker, maybe the Prime Minister should give that a miss. But does he share my fear that when it comes to Britain's national debt, the Right Honourable Member for Makerfield's plan is to infinity and beyond?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, can I first? So it's a very. He's clearly angling to go on Strictly Come Dancing, and no doubt he'd be very good at it. And I've some good news for him, because he is, fittingly, the Right Honourable Member for Chessington World of Adventures. And I'm supposing he talks about the economy. I'm pleased to tell him that thanks to our summer savings, his family can save nearly £20 when they visit this summer.
I mean, it's all very warm and nice, Patrick, but it's also kind of like the dinner party from hell.
Where to start with? It's like with Ed Davies' jokes, you can see them. I feel like, a terrified teenage girl tied to a railway line in a Buster Keaton film, right? Like it's like the train is all the way.
Humour.
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
Yeah.
The Union Pacific train is hurtling towards me from 5 miles away, and all I can do is chafe against the Hessian rope.
Is it just the way he tells them?
Yes, it is exclusively the way he tells them.
Exclusively the way he tells them.
But also, it's like he just. Oh God! I mean, it's not. Like, thing is, it's like you can see where the joke is going. It might make you titter, but sort of like also, Toy Story. Who pronounced it like that? Toy Story. It's just so strange. And also, they're always jokes you've heard before, like the joke candidate thing. Well, the Rachel Reeves was clucking away with real glee there. It was like the funniest thing she'd ever heard.
Laura?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of disagree. I think the joke itself was also extremely unfunny. I think it's a shame when people spoke about how, Ed Davey might have had privately perhaps slightly, or may have held Starmer in slightly higher esteem perhaps than the Conservatives did, and there was some potential there as two former lawyers, etc., for them not to have, a difficult relationship. Obviously, they have had a not particularly friendly relationship with PMQs, but I just thought there was obviously a potential there for Davey to do something, if not as magnanimous as Kemi Badenoch, at least slightly poignant and significant, and obviously he just didn't do that, and he tried to be funny and it wasn't even funny, so a great shame.
Quick lever update. Brian from Glasgow texts in and says you can blame everything on levers, all 52% of them. Nice, Brian, like it. Meanwhile, Chris is texting me about fulcrums. Let it go, man. Let's get our next question. This one is from the Labour MP and welfare rebel Rachel Maskell.
Speaker, before coming to this House, the Prime Minister and I attended the launch of my uncle's book. It was entitled Fine Lines and Distinctions, and clearly sometimes we've had those differences, but I genuinely wish him and his family well for the future. Yeah. But before he places his pen down, I understand there's a tradition to leave a note for your successor, and in wishing all honourable members the very best of summers, I ask that he asked his successor, the Right Honourable Member for Makerfield, to enact my legislation to licence short-term holiday lets and ensure that we can protect our communities from family houses turning into party houses in our residential areas, and ensuring we keep those housing costs down.
Prime Minister.
I'm not sure about notes for success. I think we left one in 2010, which didn't work too well. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that my successor will look at our private members' bill, and I'm proud to have overseen the biggest boost to renters' rights in a generation. We've kick-started the biggest boost to social and affordable house building, and wherever people live, they deserve a safe, secure home that they can call their own.
Richard Time.
Yeah, I wasn't so interested in that question, but I am quite interested in Rachel Maskell. Do either of you want to explain to us the significance of Rachel Maskell? Because she's a sort of serial rebel, right?
Yeah, and she was she had the whip withdrawn at one point in this short-lived premiership. She's a persistent welfare rebel, called for Keir Starmer to resign quite early. Although, funny story, well, it's not actually a funny story, or even a story.
I mean, relative to what we've heard over the last 5 minutes, it's probably quite funny.
My only ever extended interview with Keir Starmer came in March 2020. And then shortly afterwards the world shut down because it was such an implausible scenario, and I saw him in York where he spoke at an event hosted by one Rachel Maskell, and would any of the three of us now have suspected we'd all be here at the end of it?
You're right, it's not a funny story. Lara, holiday lets, your views.
I would just say about that it was an amusing turn of phrase to hear Starmer say that he'd kick-started a boost, which is essentially admitting that you just haven't built any new homes. So you've kick-started something that may well become something in the future is not necessarily what you would consider to have been a success when you think back to the interviews that Starmer gave before becoming Labour leader about the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of new homes that he would be building.
Well, look,
hasn't quite happened.
Patrick, I'm aware that you have to leave imminently to run off and do whatever it is you do when you're not sitting here. I've never really quite figured it out. But our next question is from Reform UK's Danny Kruger. Do you want to hang around for that one?
Absolutely. Why not?
Well, let's have a listen.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for his service? He is a good man, and I wish him very well for the future. But, Mr. Speaker, politics is not a joke. And every other party in this House, except Reform, has put forward as their candidate in the Clapton by-election a comedian with a dustbin on his head. Mr. Speaker, it might be, if they would listen, it might be that a man with his head full of rubbish is a fitting representative of the mainstream parties in this House. But the Prime Minister, I think the Prime Minister did endorse the bin man. But could he clarify that? If he won't put up a Labour candidate in Clapton, who does he actually want to win?
Mr. Speaker, I know that Reform believe in recycling politicians. I wonder that's if he really thought spending his summer arguing with a bin was what he had in mind when he defected to the benches up there.
Patrick, look, before you go, I want you to explain.
Thank you, Danny Kruger, for speaking the truth. Binface isn't funny. I'm sorry. And this is a real election with real people who deserve some representation. Justine Greening said this on another radio station last week, and I felt like leaping to my feet.
James Marriott said it yesterday.
Yeah, James Marriott is right. Justine Greening is right. And I'm afraid...
But John Harvey's a nice man.
John Harvey, I've only met him briefly. Nice guy in my experience, but I don't find the character funny, and I don't think this is funny.
More importantly, if you have a bin on your head, is your head full of rubbish? I don't think so. I think it's just surrounded by rubbish.
Ooh. No, but the head is the bin.
The head is the bin?
Yeah, sure. Well, can we get some... I'm sure the Binface press office won't now respond to my calls, but... The
face is the bin.
Yeah, no, but hang on. But is it like a tortoise, right? Because you think, what's inside a tortoise's shell? Yeah. But the shell is the shell is the body, right? Right. You can't pull a tortoise out of its shell. Like, there's no naked tortoise out.
Sorry, you do know it's just a man with a bin on his head. He's not actually...
I know, but obviously now... You know what? Do you know what's... on the Times letters page, it says something like Count Binface, Sigma 9. That's not a real address. So if we're all going to indulge this idea that Binface is real and he's actually from outer space... Where's it? Count Binface, prospective parliamentary candidate, Sigma 9. Next one is Andy Simpson, Middlesbrough. Could we not say, W1C or wherever he actually read. You know what I mean? Like, if we're all going to pretend Binface is real and all of this stuff, okay, let's indulge it. Like, where's the brain? Like, is it actually like is the bin his head, or is there an alien head underneath it?
Get out.
Okay, right.
Thank you, Patrick Maguire.
Thank
Lara,
you.
Your face was doing quite a lot of stuff during that tirade, and I was trying to follow what your thoughts were.
I was listening admiringly.
Was that what it was?
Patrick's shaking his head on the way out. On a more serious note, the intervention from Kruger was, I think, quite interesting, because in recent days there have been whispers that perhaps, some people in the reform fold, perhaps Danny Kruger, might not be as approving of what we've seen in recent weeks from Nigel Farage as perhaps some of the others.
Do you mean the money, or do you mean Clacton?
Both. Just right. This sense of, does it present reformers looking like a less professional outfit, and the kind of inference that perhaps there'd be people like Danny Kruger who may not be as impressed by that. I think what he has done there is shown them that he is kind of four square behind Nigel Farage at this time, and they have sort of vanquished any possible whispers or rumours to that effect that, of course, we should say have not been fully substantiated anyway. So clearly he is behind him. And I mean, I don't know, on this question, which is obviously, the chief charge that the Reform are making, which is you are insulting the democratic process by essentially endorsing a bin in this election. And actually, the people of Clacton who perhaps don't like Farage need to have somebody to vote for who is a serious contender. I think you do just need to look at the polling on this, which does suggest that actually, and we had some in the Sunday Times over the weekend, which does suggest that actually, largely, voters do think that he's called this by-election to ward off questions about his finances and other things, rather than because, he wants to have a kind of people versus the establishment, or give them the chance to determine this, etc. So I think it's obviously a very knotty political one, but I think it was a strong intervention from Kruger insofar as he will have known before today that there will have been a number of jokes about Count Binface because of the tedium of the Commons, and it was, I think, important that the person who is seen in Reform as one of the big thinkers, right? He's doing the preparation for government. He's seen as the kind of, academic, one of the academic ones, more academic ones perhaps, that he's coming out and saying, with the context that we've seen in recent weeks, you're all ridiculous. You need to take this all a lot more seriously, and actually we at Reform are rising above this. I think people in Reform will think that was a strong intervention from him.
Meanwhile, lots of texts coming in about whether if Binface's face is the bin, what the back of his head is made of. But God, that's even weirder than Leaders.
Please, can we stop talking about Binface?
Look, the final question, Keir Starmer's final question at PMQs we have now. This is from the Labour MP Carolyn Harris. She's Keir Starmer's former PPS and was co-chair of his leadership campaign.
Oh, I can do this. Can I thank my right honourable and very dear friend for everything he's given to our party and our country. There were few who believed we could make the changes needed to bring in a Labour government after the general election of 2019 when he became leader. But today, because of his service and his leadership, children are growing up in a fairer Britain. We stand tall on the world stage, and every day we've seen his decency and his courage shine through. Can I thank him and his wonderful family on behalf of me and my family for their cherished friendship, and I am certain everyone will join me in wishing him and his family the very, very best for their next chapter.
Can I thank my honourable friend for her question, for her support and friendship, to me, to Vic and to the kids. Whatever the challenge, she has always been there for us, particularly Vic and the kids, and I really thank her for that. Mr. Speaker, this will be my last answer from this dispatch box. Every Prime Minister knows when they take up the torch that the day will come when they have to pass it on. That day has come for me. This is the end of my political journey. In 6 years, went from historic defeat in 2019 to historic victory in 2024. And in 2 years in government, I leave the country in better shape than I found it. I am proud of everything that we have achieved. Mr. Speaker, can I just take time to say to you, Mr. Speaker, and all those who work for the House and in our constituency offices, thank you for all your hard work. To our civil service, thank you also for all your hard work. To my political team, many of them here today, who came on this journey with me, thank you so much for everything you have done and being prepared to walk through fire for me. To my colleagues on these benches, I am proud of all we have achieved together and proud of each and every one of you. To my successor and each of you, I will give my full support. To all colleagues across the House, can I wish you good health and happiness. To all those in the gallery whose lives have been changed or improved by this Labour government, and all across the country who struggle to be seen or heard, you're the reason I came into politics. To my wife and children, I love you. Goodbye.
Yeah, lots of cheering there from the people who just got rid of him. That was quite moving, Laura. I mean, I guess it's always guaranteed to be quite moving. That was Keir Starmer's, of course, his last appearance as Prime Minister at the Dispatch Box, and from what he was saying, presumably his last appearance at the Dispatch Box ever.
Yeah, I mean, he was, very open about the fact that he felt this is the complete end of his political journey, and I think most people would agree that that is, a broad reflection of the basic political reality of the way in which he's been ousted. It kind of charted quite a similar course to his resignation speech that we saw on that fateful Monday, particularly the sign-off with reference to his family, where his voice slightly broke. You heard that there as well, with his family being in the gallery. So, I think for that reason, many people will be feeling fairly emotional about that. But I think your sign-off there was completely correct. The people standing up and clapping, who are some of them who I've spoken to, already sort of being like, oh, Keir Starmer's actually a really decent guy, having been absolutely sulphurous about him particularly after the May local elections. I think we'll remember him now more fondly in the manner of his departure, and it was very clear by the way that he was speaking there that he intends to be a cooperative post-Prime Minister when Andy Burnham begins. And I think, judging by the nature of Keir Starmer, you would largely expect that to be the case. I mean, he certainly won't be speaking out against him or briefing against him, you would expect. So, I think, relatively unsurprising, but more, I think, making me think back to Rishi Sunak's final Prime Minister's questions, where, he didn't make it as emotional an affair, you'll remember. I mean, he made many light-hearted jokes about that. He said, took on the guise of a backbench MP and joked about, I think, the A66 in his constituency. Said, if anyone need me, I'll be in Richmond in Yorkshire. So it was a particularly unique Prime Minister's questions in that mould, and I'm kind of torn about it, to be honest, because I think on the one hand it's lovely and people get taken up in it, and people would say it's quite poignant. On the other hand, it does lend a degree of insincerity to the exchanges they have not on these dates. Which is to say that if you do know that Kemi Badenoch is sending these messages of support to Keir Starmer in private, which I think everyone would agree is a really good and great thing to do, but it does mean that when they stand up and they say absolutely awful things about each other and they're jeering and they're leering in a manner that we know because people text into the show to say, I don't think this is nice, that it just
feels like a dance. Look, Lara Spirit, thanks so much for being with us. How lovely to have you back. I think we've covered everything we need to cover there. Look, the PMQs Unpacked roundup, which used to be written by both Patrick and Lara before they passed the baton to our own Stefan Boscher, it's going to be in your inboxes soon. Lara Spirit, thank you very much indeed. Times subscribers can, of course, sign up to their newsletter at thetimes.com/newsletters if they don't already. What are they waiting for? This is Hugo Rifkind here on Times Radio.
Rifkind on Times Radio.
Hello, hello. It is time for our daily quiz. Can you get to number 10? And we've already lost one Prime Minister today. Let's see if we can lose another. 10 questions to 10 jobs in my cabinet. The more you get right, the further you go up our greasy pole. Get all the way to number 10. You become the next Prime Minister. We'll send you a DAB radio as well. Currently in the top spot is Stephen in East Sussex. Let's find out who's playing today, who's on the line. Hello. Hello.
Hello, it's Dan from Finchley.
What do you do in Finchley, Dan?
I sort of, I'm a consultant.
That'll do. Look, Dan, I'm going to rush you a bit because we haven't got a lot of time, thanks to Keir Starmer going on and on and on. You've got your Larry the Cat lifeline. He can help you if you get stuck. Let's play Can You Get Number 10?
Right.
Dan, for Minister Without Portfolio, complete this well-known phrase. Leave no stone what?
Unturned.
Yes. For culture, media and sport, in the musical Evita, Eva Peron asks which nation not to cry for her.
Oh, topical. Argentina.
Quite right. For environment, food and rural affairs, which insect goes after honey and before wax?
Bees.
Quite right. For Transport Secretary, what type of vehicle is a juggernaut?
Well, a juggernaut is a sort of large articulated lorry.
Yep, I'll take it. Laurie, absolutely. Education Secretary, bibliophobia is the fear of what?
Bibliophobia.
Bibliophobia.
Oh, let's get Larry involved.
Larry says it's either a fear of books or a fear of bibs.
Let's go books.
It is books. Well done. For Business Secretary, what was the chocolate bar Snickers originally called?
Marathon.
Yep. For Home Secretary, Walk Upon England's Mountain Green is the second line of which rousing song and or poem?
Oh, there's absolutely no chance I'm getting this.
Walk Upon England's Mountains Green. I'm not going to sing it for you.
I just don't know. Rule Britannia.
Wrong.
It's Jerusalem, Dan.
Of course it was.
Did those feet in ancient times walk upon England's mountains green?
No, sorry.
No, well, no matter. Look, your business secretary, that's pretty good. And in fact, frankly, it's helpful because the show's over. So God knows what would have happened. We'd have had to crash the news.
That's a bit of assistance.
Thanks for being with us, Dan. No time. Can you tell me very quickly what your first policy is going to be as business secretary?
Oh, please define what Manchesterism is, please. That would be a good policy.
Works for me. Welcome to the Cabinet. Good to have you. On tomorrow's show, the How to Win Election team are going to be back. We're going to look at how Andy Burnham introduces himself to the nation. Joe Coburn is on next for the Times at 1. Today's producer was Lewis. Ryan was pushing the buttons. I'll see you tomorrow.